We're back at it again with another episode of Team Chat, and we were just talking off recording, and I said, Brett, shut your mouth. Let's go ahead and just start recording so we don't have this podcast fully twice. So kind of pick up where we had just started there with overall, we're just really talking about motivation, right? People saying I'm not motivated. I don't have the mindset to do this. I don't have it. It's not a habit. Yada 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 yada. So back up to kind of what grinds your gears, and then let's go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I get a lot of messages, of like, my diet's fine. Like I got my diet worked out, or maybe they don't. Either way, they're like that. And then they'll say, I know I need to move. I know I need to exercise more. I'm just not motivated. And that shit to me is like nails on a chalkboard. I absolutely hate that phrase. And I'm sure that my followers and the people who watch a lot of my content know this, but it's not about motivation. And I made a post about this today. Um, I've been doing this for 12 years. I've been working out consistently for 12 years. For 12 years, do you think that in 7 days a week that I was like just motivated and gung ho and ready to go every single day? I was ready to work out. I wasn't, because I knew like I some days I'm tired. Some days, I've had a long day. Maybe I had gotten an argument with my partner, or maybe just the drive home just wasn't. It just got me in a bad mood, or something happened, and I don't want to work out. I want to go home. I want to sit down, watch TV, or eat, or play video games, or watch, or whatever. Um, so when I'm in those positions where I'm like not motivated to work out, I have to look at myself. I have to remember what my goals are, where I want to be, and understand that I didn't just make up those goals just because it was sounded cool at the time. I made up those goals because I want to get to this place, and there's a gap. And the only way for me to fill that gap is for me to show up today. And that's all it takes, is just to show up, be disciplined, and show up for yourself today. But anyway, enough of that rant. I just that was something that I see a lot of, hear a lot of, and I was actually just talking to a client about it recently, and yeah, I hear it all the time.
Yeah, the thing that I always like to liken that to is, do you only wipe your ass when you're motivated to?
Yeah,
Do you only brush your teeth when you're motivated to by your breath smelling so bad that you can't stand it? Like, do you only put oil in your car when you're motivated to?
do you only go to work when you're motivated?
What do you have the ability to carry health insurance or have a long-term romantic relationship or have any friends around you if you only show up when you're motivated? Like,
Right.
is that's not logical or rational, right? And it's interesting that it really only gets applied to things that are difficult, right? Because everyone likes to rah rah. I want to listen to Jocko, I want to listen to David Goggins, and I want to listen to this, that, and the other person. But what I don't want to do is actually do the work. I want to be, what I like to call mental masturbation, right? Where people want to like listen to the motivational videos all day, every day, but delay that first action, right? Where I want to listen to, a pregame hype of Deion Sanders hyping up his team right before Colorado gets smashed by a team that they should not when they're up 29-0.
Right.
If you only show up when it feels good too, and I think it's more than just probably motivation. It's like your emotions lie to you, right? And feelings are feelings. They're not rational. That's why they're a feeling, right? There's not rationale behind everything that you feel. Sometimes, and a lot of people would argue that, oh, you need to pay attention to the feelings and you need to do this and you need to do this. And that's cool, right? And sometimes you definitely should. If you have a gut feeling about something, pay attention to it. But if you feel like today, because of the weather, it's 42 degrees. I don't want to go to the gym because I just don't feel like it. Or it's raining outside. I want to just watch Netflix and eat chocolate. Well, the fact of the matter is that you as an individual, you can do that. Like you have volition, you have a choice. You can do that. But what I'm not gonna put up with, especially if you're my client or you're any of the clients of TC, if you consistently choose a different set of actions repetitively that move you away from the goal, like I'm not taking responsibility for you not hitting that goal.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take responsibility for that, right? If it's only when you're motivated, you're not going to do anything hard, because how fast does motivation last? Like chemically and psychologically, I don't know the metrics on that, but I can tell you right now that like Sunday, Monday, I didn't feel great, right? I didn't want to walk. I didn't want to go lift weights. I didn't want to hang from the pull-up bar to fix my posture. I didn't want to do those things, but I did them.
Right.
I didn't do all of them, but I did my best,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't just say like, "Oh, I don't feel good, so let me not do it." Right? When the
Right.
weather drops from 80 to 40 degrees, you can't just give up, right? Because if you give up there, not only are you running away from goal, right? But then also, what are you communicating to yourself? What are you saying to yourself about your character?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, stop bargaining with yourself. Stop putting yourself on the back burner and just doing the things that you want to do. Sometimes if you have a goal, you're going to have to do a lot of things that you don't want to do. And if you start doing those things more often, eventually you get good at it and then you do want to do them all the time.
Yeah, you kind of got to outwork the self-doubt. Hormozy talks about that. James Clear talks about that. Tons of people regurgitate that message. I mean, you're going to doubt that this is what you want to be doing. A lot of time it's just reinforced by where you think you should be at this point
Mm-hmm.
when you're not. And so I think it's interesting, like, a lot of times also the insistence on listening to that lack of motivation, the insistence on adhering to you not being in the mood to do it. I think it's very similarly to when people are in a situation where they say that they're hangry, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that hangry is, in my mind, is that you have a lack of self-control, a lack of discipline when it comes to you being hungry and your emotions.
Yeah.
You're unable to control yourself and you act like a fucking child
Yep.
because you're a little too hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing here. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need to be in the mood to do what you need to do to not piss everyone off around you when you're a little too hungry,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're not motivated to not eat the chocolate at night. Too bad. Unless you want to give up the goal, you got to do something about that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing is like if you want to stay where you're at now, then stay where you're at now. Do whatever it is that you want to do. That's fine. But if you have a vision of who you want to be and you have a giant gap between who you are now and where you want to be, you got to fill that gap somewhere, somehow. And if you're not going to do that, that's fine. You'll just stay where you're at now. I mean, that's just how it is. Um, with the conversation that I was having with my client at the time too is like, one good thing about having one good thing just about having a coach on your side and she has this advantage was you know you just have to show up. I do everything else. I've got your cardio set up, ready to go. Whatever you need to do, it's set in there. I've got your meal plan ready to go. You just follow it. I've got your exercises set up and ready to go. You go down the list, you watch the videos, you check it off, and you just put in your stats. You just got to do it. It's literally right there in front of you. Just do it. That's it. So I mean, like that's one advantage that she had, and that's one thing that I told her is like, I mean, you're not going to have perfect days. I think the situation was that like somebody was, a lot of her plans just got mixed up, and she was initially going to work out in the morning, and then she couldn't, and then she didn't know where to fit it in, and then it was like the end of the day, and she had no time. Hey, after our talk though, she got 12,000 steps in like an hour. So she knocked out her steps and did everything that she was supposed to do. But you gotta throw that motivation shit out the window because it's not motivation will get you started. I'm sure you've heard it, but discipline is gonna keep you going. And I saw another quote the other day. I was, I've had, the last couple of days have been a little weird. And you get down on yourself occasionally. I saw a quote though that spoke to me and resonated big time that said, if you quit today, everybody was right about you. And I was like, dang, dude, that hits. Okay, I'm not gonna quit. I'm gonna keep moving. Um, so yeah, I don't know. That the motivation shit's just got to go out the window.
Yeah. And, some people respond better to external validation or external pressure, right? People that a coach can help them, get there. Some people, they don't need that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
you, yourself, and the mirror. And that's all you need for accountability.
Yep.
Regardless of what camp you're in. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to figure out what what matters to you, and not what matters to you today, what matters to you in 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, 10 years. Like, compound interest works in both directions. And if you're going to be in a situation where you're not paying attention to the things that are going to move you closer to the goal that you say you want, well, then you're going to look at a life that's probably on the other side of the pole from that, right? And I'm curious, in your mind, where on the daily actions or the process goals do you see people falling off most on? Is it just everything? Is it the fitness, the walking, the eating, the mobilization, the sleeping? Like, where do you see the biggest drop off on?
I'd say it's probably the workouts themselves the most. Just like I said before, a lot of times it can be a time issue, or it just didn't work out the way they had planned or something like that. Typically with like the nutrition, because we lay our stuff out pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy to
Pretty
follow.
simple too. It's not
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah. And it's sustainable.
Mm.
That's not that's honestly not really the issue most of the time. I mean, like, occasionally somebody will slip up like we talked about before, but it's nothing that we can't fix. But yeah, it's typically, I'd say, the exercise side of things. Just like I said, it's a scheduling thing, or something just doesn't go as planned, and you just got to remember that that's just how life is. Things aren't going to go exactly how you plan, and it's how you adjust from there.
Yeah, you try to knock down actions, and sometimes you don't get to the end before the sun goes down, right? You don't get to the end before you lay the head down. And some people will take that as a no, I'm not leaving until that happens. Well, and you're better than a lot of people in that regard, adhering to what you said you were going to do. Some people aren't there yet. And so I don't think that I'm in the position where I'm trying to beat anyone over the head that is not in that position, like steadfast, completely strong. It's discipline over everything. I'm going to do it until I'm done, no matter what. Those people are few and far between. So in your mind, for someone that finds himself, hey, workouts are getting a little difficult, staying on my nutrition in the office, around the water cooler with the fridge and the donuts and everything else at work, like this kind of stuff is becoming a problem. I don't have a coach. What would be a first remedial step that you would give to someone that's struggling with that?
Mm. I It's so easy for me to say, to just think about like what it is you're trying to do and why that's important, because I know a lot of times in the moment you're gonna probably, I mean, there some people just don't have as strong a will, and they're probably gonna grab that donut, and they're probably just gonna feel sorry about it down the road. Um but yeah, I mean, my biggest piece of advice there is just to remember, when you're looking in the mirror and you don't like the way that you look, is that donut gonna taste better than how bad it feels when you look in the mirror? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think
Yeah.
something that needs to be stated is that it's not about the one donut,
Yeah.
right? The donut is not the devil, but
Right.
the repetitive actions that you're talking about, where you continually to make choices, you continue to make choices time and time and time again, habitually,
Mm-hmm.
in the wrong direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that donut, and what that donut means for the pattern, not the donut itself.
Exactly. And I should have been clear about that. But that, at least for me, like,
Mhm.
that's what kind of helps me to be like, oh no, actually I'm good. Or, maybe if I'm going out to eat with someone, or I'm going to a friend's house who they're gonna have junk food or something, maybe I make a dish for everyone that's maybe a little healthier, maybe something on the side of like what I like to eat or what I need to be eating. Bring that dish. So one, you're not rude, and two, you don't look weird being the only person there not eating anything.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean that and then, again, like when I was especially early in my journey, that was one thing. It was like I hated the way I looked in the mirror, and I knew what the habit of like eating the junk food led to, me hating how I looked in the mirror. And so whenever I looked at the junk food, I saw that, and then that just kind of changed the whole thing for me. It was like that I feel bad at I hate the way that I look in the mirror, and this is keeping me in that place. So I want to get to a place where I love the way that I look in the mirror, and that is going to taste better than any junk food that you can put in front of me.
Facts. And I think for those that are not really motivated by, and one could say vanity, right? Or one could say body dysmorphia or what have you, whatever direction you want to go with that, take it where you want. Doesn't really matter. The the motivator or the impetus behind is all I'm getting at there. It could be visual or the physical appearance. It could also be the people that you're doing it for, though. That partner, right? Or those kids or your mom that's sick in the hospital, that needs someone that can be mobile, that can be active, that can be there to support them, regardless of what part of life they're in, right? How about the kids you've seen milestones, you giving them quality of life, not just quantity of life. You're not just dousing yourself in medication and being here till you're 90, but how about doing things preventatively and saying enough is enough. Today is the last day I'm doing this bullshit because I need to be here qualitatively, not just quantitatively, for these kids down the road. I need to be here when first boyfriend and girlfriend come over, when they get their license, when they go to prom, they go to homecoming, right? We go on activities, we go on trips, when they get married. Like, I want to be here for those things, assuming that they choose to do those things. I want to be here for that in a way that's not embarrassing to them, because it's embarrassing to me if you don't want to be seen with your mom and dad because we're morbidly obese, because we don't have enough discipline to take care of ourselves. What happens when you do that in one area? Oftentimes it bleeds into the others. It does not mean that if you're the fittest person in the world, that you're the best parent, you're the best business owner, what have you. That is not true. That is logically not. That's not congruent. But I will say that when I'm paying more attention and I'm intentional about the time that I do spend in the gym, doesn't mean I spend more. But when I'm intentional about the time that I do, that discipline and that doing exactly what I told myself that I would do, that bleeds over into other things positively. The same way that negatively it bleeds over if you're doing the shit that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. And I was going to make a point about, like, it's kind of in line with what you're saying, is like, imagine the confidence that it brings when you've seen the long journey that it's taken for you to get to where you want to be, right? And you're there, you feel like you're unstoppable. And now anything that things that may have come your way when you weren't where you wanted to be, you'd look at them as difficult. You maybe avoided them. Now you've got so much confidence in yourself. You're like, I could do anything. So now anything that's thrown at you, maybe your mom is in the hospital, maybe something's going on with your kids, and you kept pushing it off. But now that you finally have proved to yourself that I'm not going to push this off anymore, I'm going to do it. You do that, and then you start to realize I'm not pushing anything off anymore. And then you start to feel more fulfilled in every other aspect of your life. And I'm not saying that you just have to go to the gym to feel that way. I'm just saying you have to do hard shit to feel that way.
Yeah, there's nothing of merit that comes without suffering, right? In some format, comes without sacrifice, comes without you having to do something difficult, right? I wouldn't say that a situation where you're a trust fund kid makes you in a solid position outside of materialistically, right? But what kind of responsibility do you have to figure it the fuck out when you're just given something? I don't know about you. I would rather work for something. Not saying I want to delay my reward by, 20 years, but I would like to work for something, right? Because it gives you a bigger sense of purpose. It allows you to sit in the suck and understand the why while you're doing it. And so whether it's vanity or body dysmorphia or wanting to run towards pictures when they're taken, motivation is bullshit. And if you don't start to understand that sooner than later, you're going to look up and find that you've only done things when they were easy. And most of life is not easy, because if it's easy short run, it's usually difficult long run, and vice versa. They're inversely related there, right? Easier short run, probably harder long run. Harder short run, leaning intentionally into discomfort, easier long run. Now, doesn't mean it's easier everywhere, but in the thing that you've intentionally done and walked on the path of discomfort, absolutely, right? And I think that there's even some personal development with you that I've seen in the last year where you've leaned into shit that doesn't feel good, but guess where you're at because of it, right? Way more fortified, way more able, way more capable, way more ready to take on the next hard thing because you have a bucket of wins right behind you.
Yeah, I was thinking about that on my drive home yesterday, actually. I don't, there's a lot of things that I don't know how to do, and I do not let that stop me from doing it. And I have to go into that knowing that I'm gonna suck at it and I'm gonna get shit for it. I might get chewed out for it, but if I do that and I deal with that and I don't let it stop me, I will fill that gap, you know?
Yeah. You got to
It's the
try.
same
You got to
that,
swing. You got to do your best, man. You know,
yeah,
you got to show up even when it sucks.
exactly. It applies for everybody.
Yeah. It applies in more than just health and wellness. So I hope if nothing else, people take a little bit of a lesson there that, you know, it's everything we just said is not new information. It's a reminder, not a teaching, right?
Yep.
We've all heard it from the time that we were teeny, right? You need to lean into things that have meaning, have purpose, what have you. Look, get up and make today the last day, right? There's oftentimes a bigger reason than just I want to look better naked. Although who doesn't want to look better naked for themselves or partner or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So get out of your own way. Motivation is still bullshit and will always be bullshit, right? It will not sustain. It's like running on fumes, right? Weeks and weeks down the road. So hope that was beneficial. If not, sucks. Thanks for your time anyways. And we will see you next time. Peace.